Erev Tov Netanya, Boker Tov in Boulder. Greetings to all of our friends who I see in the chat already from Costa Rica, from Carmiel, and from Kuwait. Around the world, we had a rough week. We had a particularly rough week here in Washington, D.C., where I'm sitting. And we know one thing you can count on is friends. And so the friends of the America-Israel Friendship League are here today gathering with two innovative designers who are going to help us think about how to design our world, even in the very own spaces that we're in today, to be more joyful, to be more sustainable, indeed, to promote our own well-being and the well-being of others. They're coming from very different perspectives. So if you have an appreciation for design, or you're just curious, or you want to think about how you can think about your environs in a way that makes you even more of a well-grounded person, you're going to really get a special treat today. I'm joined today, and again, I see in the chat now people waking up and tuning in from all around the world. We want you to let us know what's the space that you're calling us from now. Are you in an office? Are you in your house? Is it nice like it is here today? The sun's shining. You can maybe even get outside and get a little bit of fresh air. All of those things come to the mind when you're thinking about your own well-being, and we hope everyone here, whether you're in Charleston, South Carolina, or in Silver Spring, Maryland, one of my neighbors, we're grateful to have you here today. So I'm joined today on this amazing, amazing panel with two very, very different perspectives. First of all, Dr. Maurit Beeri, who is trained as a pediatrician and a medical doctor. She is the Director General of Pediatrics and Adolescents at the world-famous Alyn Hospital in Jerusalem. We're so grateful to have you here today, Maurit, and we'll learn about you in a moment. And Sarah Gluck, who has spent time in Israel, but is calling in today from her own studio in Brooklyn. Sarah has a remarkable background in career in design that started at the Pratt Institute in New York, but took her around the world. You're going to hear about some of the designs that she created in public spaces as large in Rome and in Vancouver and around the world. But you're also going to hear about how some of her insights into her own design understandings relate to our own bodies, and how you can design and use your own space that you're in, whether it's a public space or a private space, in order to advance your own well-being. So I want to give an opportunity for you all, because these two remarkable women are coming from very, very different perspectives. I wanted you to hear a little bit in their own words about their own journeys, both personal and professional. And I'm going to start first with you, Maurit. I know you've spent time in the United States as a Wexner Fellow and got your MPA at Harvard, so you know a little bit about both sides of the pond that you're dealing with. But your primary work has been working with children as a pediatrician. And we know that some of the insights that you've developed, we're going to hear and see in your segment later, really have implications for all of us. So tell us a little bit how you developed your expertise, starting as a physician, and have now entered this realm of design and building spaces and products that help individuals in their daily lives.
Thank you, Wayne, and good day, hello, good morning, good evening to everybody. I am really happy to be with you. And my personal journey, I think, reflects a lot of the journey that the world is going through today, because we seem to go in and out from our personal space to projecting ourselves to wherever you guys are all around the world. And my own personal journey started with me wanting to be a pediatrician and taking care of children. And I grew up in Israel. I always thought that I'm going to be a pediatrician taking care of sick kids. And I thought I'd grow up to be an intensive care specialist, or maybe a surgeon. I kind of have the go get it, let's fix that attitude from the get-go. But I was sent on an elective rotation to spend time at the Alyn Pediatric Rehabilitation Center in Jerusalem. At the time, I had no special interest in children with special needs. And indeed, the field seemed to be something that isn't very hopeful. You deal with children with problems all the time that are severe, and children with disabilities sounded to me like something that isn't something for a person who wakes up every morning with a smile. You have to be very serious about it. And then the first day that I came into Alyn Hospital, which is a hospital, I'll tell you more about it, but hasn't been in existence for more than 90 years now, I saw this physiotherapist working with a kid, and that was a 5-year-old kid in a wheelchair. And the mother was at one end of the hall, and the physiotherapist was helping the child get out of the wheelchair and start taking a few steps ahead. And the kid was looking at his mom and calling her in Hebrew, Ima, Ima, tiri, tiri, mommy, mommy, come see, come see. And the mother was crying on the other side of the hall. There are tears running down her face, looking at her child taking their first few steps. And I was just standing there saying, I could give as much antibiotics as I could. I could be in intensive care unit. The children will be under anesthetized and ventilated. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to experience. Changing the life of a child in such a way that will make such a difference that from that day on, their lives will be completely different. And I was hooked. And then from that moment on, all I was interested in is how can you take a child with a destiny that looks bleak and change their lives in order for them to look forward to the next 60, 70, 80 years with hope and happiness.
Well,
and down the road, here I am, 20 years afterwards, I'm the CEO of the hospital, and gone from working with one child at a time to trying to think big and change the lives of children all over the world.
And still with a big smile on your face. So it sounds like you found the right place to share that. We're looking forward to seeing some of the work that you're doing at Alyn. Sarah, when you were studying at Pratt, did you imagine you'd be back in Brooklyn? I know you had a couple of detours around the world before then, but are you in the right place now for what you're doing?
Thank you, Wayne. Yeah, it's not so surprising, I have to say. First of all, I have to say, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Maurit, you totally got me there on many levels, but you really also, you sparked something also inside of me on my journey that I should probably speak about as well at this point. So I started my architecture career exactly 20 years ago. And we should go back about 3 years before that. I was living in Israel. I was working in high tech. I was living in Jerusalem. I was working in South Tel Aviv. I was traveling back and forth, usually 2 times a day. So there and back twice, and was not doing very well, let's say, but I was working 14-hour days and really into my career. And I had somebody underneath me who used to be a dancer, and she would bother me every single day. Come and do Pilates with me. Come and do Pilates with me. I don't have time. I don't have time. After about 9 months, I got so sick of hearing, I went with her. And after my first session, I was totally hooked because it was so meditative for me. And it was really my first form of meditation. I've always been a physical person. So to have it be, to have a very fast mind, to be able to connect my body and my mind like that was just incredible. And I was totally hooked. And then I moved back to New York to work with venture capitalists about 1.5 years later. I didn't like any of the Pilates teachers that I found here. And I thought, let me just go and do the course so I could learn how to operate the equipment by myself and just work myself out. I got totally hooked in. I ended up, everything is right. There's no mistakes. I ended up in a course that was very anatomy and biomechanics focused. And there was a whole section on special populations. And that just really spoke to me just because I'm a problem solver at heart. 1 year later, just when I started going into when I literally just became a teacher, a month later, I went into architecture school. I was not supposed to work, but I could not give up teaching because I felt like I had really found something powerful there. So they allowed me to teach 5 hours a week while I was in school. While I was in school, I was learning structures, and then I had my design studio. And in my structures, I was learning all the stuff about the way force operates and the way, structures work and stabilize and how they become dynamic. And I began to just naturally teach it into my students. And I was seeing dramatic changes in my students that would normally take about 9 months to build up strength and flexibility to do. They were able to do instantaneously. So I just got hooked on this idea of like the perfect structure is the body. And I can actually, now that I'm learning the dynamics of it, I can just, bring those concepts of physics and architectonics into my teaching. And so that became just something that I was overlapping in my studies. I was bringing everything was about the body and vice versa. Then when I went out into, I actually went into a architecture summer course in Rome, and I had an accident. I broke my tailbone. I dislocated it very severely. I did not ask for help. I kept it out of place for 9 months. And in that time, I got extremely sick. All of my systems broke down. My diaphragm, I was told that I would have choked to death. I was also told that if I were to give birth, my baby would have choked to death. So I was very ill, and I was watching my body just disintegrate, and I didn't know why. I had no idea. I had completely put this injury, into the back spaces of my mind. And then I went on to the healing journey. And in the meantime, I started working, designing for people with disabilities. And I was actually took on a project in Nicaragua, helping to design a new orphanage, but we needed to get funds. So I started working to get funds here. And then I ended up going back there and working in a clinic and running a clinic for disabilities. It was mostly people that had the bends or decompression sickness, because they actually only had one decompression chamber. It was in the Capitol and it was broken. So all of, Red Lobster and all of these large American and international companies were coming down, getting lobster and getting these people very sick. They were coming in hundreds to see me. And I was, in the meantime, I had done different types of yoga training and energy work and Kundalini training. And I started teaching them what I knew. And this is, Maurit, where you got me, was I was starting to see, and in some of what I show today, you'll see where it came from, was a lot of people were coming in. They had nitrogen up to literally their eyeballs, and all they could do was move their eyeballs. So I worked with them on moving their eyeballs until they could move more. And just by moving what they were able to, they started to actually gain access to other parts of their body. And that, Maurit, was also my moment of like, I'm hooked on this. And so just to bring you back to where I am today, to say, are you surprised? In a way, no. Yes, I traveled all over the world designing public spaces for movement and inclusivity. But what I was actually struggling with internally was that all of the systems that I had been working on when I was a healthy body that made me really strong and really fit were no longer working for me, because I couldn't make modifications. There were no modifications for when your whole body is wrong, when every cell is out of place. So I was just determined to come up with a system that started to integrate the systems again and make you feel whole without having to constantly feel like you had to modify something. And that's where I'm at today. And that's what I'm going to give you a taste of a little bit later. So, yeah.
Thanks so much for that introduction. And it was interesting to hear both of you describe yourselves as problem solvers on the one hand. On the other hand, you're both innovators. And indeed, I think one of the ways that Alyn has become, such a globally recognized institute is because precisely you've sort of started with solutions of patients themselves and working with them and their families. Dr. Beeri, tell us a little bit about what you do and who some of the patients are that you work with and what you've learned from them.
So thanks. So pediatric rehabilitation is a misnomer, because when you come to rehabilitate somebody, you usually try to get them back to the condition that they were in prior to the accident or the disease. But what do you do with a 3-year-old child who had a brain injury, or a child who was born with a congenital condition? You're not working at taking them back to the way they were prior to this condition. You're actually working at trying to get them to be as close to other children while they're growing up. And this is a very urgent case because childhood is a period of life that has the ability, we have the capacity to change and grow and correct all kinds of problems that we might have. So if we're taking a child and we're trying to teach them something, they have the capacity to learn how to do it differently if we teach them from a very young age. When we're talking about a child who doesn't walk, if they won't learn how to walk within a certain time frame or time period, it's going to be so much more difficult to do that at an age when other children are already walking. I mean, every one of us who studied a second language knows that you can pick up a second language very easily when you're very young. But if you are above 12 or 13 years of age, you probably get the accent will stick with you. And if you're my age and you immigrate from one country to the other, the chances of you actually reaching to be really proficient in the language, the second language, are slim. So we know that there's a window of opportunity. So we take a child and we are trying to compensate for whatever is wrong with them. But at the same time, we're playing in a field where the goalposts keep moving because the child grows all the time. And we're running after the child and trying to teach them how to train to be a regular child. So if you could just wait and look at this particular child here, they're doing the most important thing that a child could do, which is play. Because we all do three things in our daily life. We take care of ourselves, and we work, and we are with our family and friends. For children, their work is actually play and study, because childhood is a constant period of training to be an adult. If the child can't train to be an adult in a age-appropriate way, they'll not gain the function that will enable them to progress up towards being an adult, a mature adult who is independent in society. So playing is as important as studying, as taking care of yourself. When you take a child who is bedridden or stuck to a wheelchair and they can't move around, they can't experience the world around them, they will not gain the experiences that will teach them how to become independent adults. So we have to do that from a very young age. Communication is essential from a very young age. A child who can't talk, you have to compensate for that and give them ways to talk. So if I'm talking about Alyn Hospital, as I said, it's been there for 90 years. 90 years ago, it was all about taking children with orthopedic conditions and fixing their feet so that they could walk. Now, this is no longer the case. We're doing three really important things that have changed throughout history. One is medicine has improved so much that all the children that were taken care of there 70 years ago, they don't need Alyn anymore. Now they can be treated in the community, regular things that can be fixed. Nowadays, we're taking care of children who wouldn't have survived ICU units even 10 and 20 years ago because medicine has advanced so much. So we get sicker and sicker kids instead of healthier kids at Alyn because kids who wouldn't have survived now come in to our place for rehabilitation. The second thing that has changed is the talking about human rights. We all have the right to participate in society, even children with special needs. So we're trying to make sure that they have a place in society. And the third thing that has changed is technology. And technology makes all the difference between somebody who is separate from society, who is disabled, and somebody who can participate. Now, we're all disabled on some level right now with the COVID pandemic. We can't move around. We're stuck in our homes. Here in Israel, we're in our third lockdown. But we can communicate because we have technology on our side. And we can compensate for the lack of being able to see each other face to face by using this time Zoom or any other platform. I have a physical disability. I have an impairment. And if I didn't have this very common assistive device, which is called glasses or spectacles, depends where you come from, I wouldn't have been able to drive around. I wouldn't have been able to sit in the classroom and study, but we're used to this. So we don't call this a problem that causes disability because we have an assistive device. Now, I'd like to take you a step further and say that each one of us usually uses a powered wheelchair on our daily life because we all drive around in cars. And what are cars if not powered wheelchairs. We're just using them outside the house and not home. So it's all a matter of how you think about things. If you don't look at technology as something that is only designated for people with special needs, but every one of us, we all use the technology. We just adapt it to the children's needs. Then we can bridge the gap between what they can do physically and what they need to achieve as children growing up in society. Now, we used to have at Alyn a biomechanical lab that would come up with solutions for children. If a child wanted to draw and they couldn't use their hands, we would make them a board and have them draw with a brush in their mouth. If they couldn't take a photograph, then we would create something that would enable them to click. We used to make particular solutions for children. But nowadays, we're doing two very different things with our innovation. First of all, we're still creating solutions for specific kids if there's nothing there in the market. But we're looking at creating solutions that will help children all around the world. And more than that, we're working with international companies so that once they design the products that are geared towards the general market, they will always be also approachable and adjustable for people with special needs. For instance, if we're using this platform Zoom, now we can voice activate such a platform. So somebody who can't move around or just use their voice, they can activate it. We're actually working now with a company who called VoiceIt, who works on people whose speech is hard to decipher. So if you have somebody who needs to say, I would like to watch this program now, but what comes out is this speech segment will this solution will translate it, and everybody will be able to understand what they talk. But you know what? I think that I would like at this point to show you a short film about what we do in Alyn, and maybe that, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that will show you more about what we do.
We had so many choices when we decided to go to Israel. Today, we're at Alyn, which is this children's hospital in Jerusalem that's unbelievable.
So we're a pediatric rehabilitation hospital. Basically, kids would come in with disabilities, physical disabilities, all kinds of conditions. Now, technology and medicine have advanced so much that they help us bridge that gap between what the children can do physically and what they do need to do to develop intellectually, to be a part of society.
This hospital specializes in treating these children in a very provocative, unique way. And the level of success and outcomes is just unmatched anywhere in the world.
You have here different areas. Technically, any type of device that you can imagine can be produced here. Prototypes, samples, one-offs, everything is done here.
I would probably bet that there's not many hospitals that have a wood shop, metal shop, and electrical shop in their facility making products to be used in the hospital like later today.
Once you label something that is therapeutic, the price jumps 10 times.
Sure.
And because we can't rely on the industry or the market to provide us with whatever the kids need, we have to have everything in-house. We basically self-supply the things that are unavailable anywhere else.
So what are we looking at here?
Okay, so we're looking at the combination of several different instruments. That's what you're seeing here, is the amount of force is coming back through each leg. So we have a patient here now, and we're using an 8-marker biofeedback training program developed by Adam Booth. Of course, if I was to put a feedback challenge on, for example, we can work on the symmetry of the pelvis.
I always have a fascination with complexity and simplicity occurring in the same sentence, and that's what this is. They cloak the complexity of the healing process for the child in such a simple environment. And that's where the genius lies in all of this.
Good night.
Thanks. So this is a snippet of a program that was made about Alyn. And what it shows is the way that we put together different aspects of a child's life, so that while the child is enjoying themselves, playing or studying, basically they're doing what we want them to do so that they can improve and progress. Because we need to connect to the motivation of the child. You can tell an adult, I need you to do, this specific exercise 100 times because this is going to be good for you. This is going to improve your condition. You can't say that to a child. If it's painful, if it's uncomfortable, the child will try, do it a couple of times, and then just give up on it. But if you give that same child, for instance, I'll give you a short story. 5-year-old child with severe burns over their elbow. Now with burns, what happens is that the scar tends to contract. So you might end up with a child who can't move their hands. They have to stretch their hands many, many times during the day so that they can actually work against the scarring. Now, a child is unable to do that if it's painful. But if we give that child a pair of keys and a bag of seeds, and we tell them, you have to feed the bird 10 times a day, 20 times a day, you will see that they will stretch their arms because it connects to their inner motivation. So this is how we work with the children. It could be virtual reality, but it could also be a bird or a cat or a clown or art therapy or movement or biking or hiking. We have to connect with what moves the child. And nowadays, more and more, children connect to video games, children connect to virtual reality, and that opens up a whole new field for us to be able to train the children to do things that we think they should be doing so that they will grow up as healthy adults, and they will think they'll only be playing games. This combination of thinking outside the box, connecting medicine, education, gamification of products, and innovation is what makes us different than other places. The knowledge is out there, but we're bringing it all together and bringing it up to a new level.
Dr. Beeri, when I watched that video segment, I know you have another one, so I'm going to see if we can try to get that in as well, because it strikes me as such a very Israeli approach that you've identified what it is that's missing that the market can't provide. And in the case of the second video we're about to see, you are actually creating products and designing products that fit to the very specific needs of your patients, which really seems quite revolutionary in some respects. So could we bring that video up? Maybe you want to set that up?
Yes. So when we work with the children, we ask them to come up with what they need. And that works best for us. That works best for the children. It connects them to the solutionizing. It connects them to understanding what problem solving is, so that in the future, they will be able to be their own agents and to control their lives. So this is a short movie showing the story of one child who had one request. She wanted to do gardening therapy. So basically what you saw is the creation of a universal cuff. It is a cuff that any child can use or any adult can use. We never thought you could actually pick up a whole tool full of water. I forgot the name, what it's called in English. This is the way that we work. That universal cuff is now available if you log on to the Alyn website. Anybody can download the instructions and can 3D print it anywhere around the world. It's a wonderful solution, very cheap, very easy to use, and it is child-oriented and child-driven, which is wonderful. So we do things from that and all the way to high-tech innovations that change data-driven knowledge for children with special needs.
Thanks so much for that. Those two powerful examples of what this looks like, what you're describing, what you work on day to day at Alyn, and I think it is just such, as you were commenting on the history of the organization and how it's changed to use technology to be able to treat things that weren't treatable before, but obviously to treat it in ways that really are patient-driven is really something remarkable. Sarah, I want to come back to you in Brooklyn. You have, as you indicated, been your own patient as well, and I know that has inspired some of your approaches to design now, both for large spaces, public spaces, and smaller spaces. And just a spoiler alert to our viewers, you're going to have an opportunity with Sarah at the end of her segment to actually try out some of the movements that she is promoting. And you've sort of coined this phrase, integral body method. So Sarah, tell us about what that is, and share a little bit about some of the work that you've been involved with around the globe that has led you to the place you are now.
Okay, so the integral body method, what that basically means is that it's a method that just kind of reintegrates everything, and that within, you know, the only thing broken in us is the signals that are communicating with each other. It's the only thing, regardless of what, and I agree with Maurit, we're all disabled in different ways. And we certainly all have different, you know, aside from disabilities, we also have different levels of balance and integration and dis-ease inside of us. And when we fix those communications, then you basically activate the self-healing mechanism. And once you do that, the body, it awakens the you know, the intelligence inside the body. I got personally really sick of just years and years of trying to fix myself and going to all kinds of doctors, healers, movement therapists, you name it. I saw everybody and nobody could fix me. Not only could nobody fix me, but they couldn't even figure out what was going on with me. So it just left me with this feeling of, well, if nobody else can fix me, and I try to do Pilates, which used to feel great for me, and now it just creates more pain and question marks. You know, and it hurt for me to sit down and meditate. And it was just, I was in constant pain, and I was in emotional pain as well, because I couldn't figure out what to do. I just really wanted to be able to find a method that made you feel whole again, and that within that place of wholeness, it began to actually heal you. So that's kind of what the integral body method comes from. So what you're seeing here is some of the actual design that I did when I was actually doing physical designs. This was a project called Unite Unite, which was the winning project in the Young Architects program, which is a worldwide competition for young architects. We won the Rome edition in 2012. We moved to Rome actually 3 weeks after I got married. I left my husband and went and moved to Rome for 6 months to build this project. And inside of this project, it was called the Infinity System. It was a double infinity with 66 different seating positions that held the body in different healing and healthful ways. And there was also a signage program, which if you go back to slides, you'll see there was a signage program on each of the, there we go, on each of the pieces at the bottom. You see one over there in the second image to the right down. There was a QR code that you could run your smartphone over, and it would give you 3 levels of engagement with the piece. One was just a passive one that you could just fall into the piece and allow it to just assist you and support your body. The second one was one that you could move between 2 existing poses, which was more dynamic. And the third one was about how you can interact with a partner on it. So it became more of a social piece as well, because we recognized that, you know, true health comes from also being socially active. And I think we all feel that right now as well. So our design journey actually began working specifically in disability. So we began working one-on-one with people that had, mainly at the beginning, we were working with spinal cord injury, and we were designing for people to try to have experiences outside of their wheelchairs. This was a project that we did in Tribeca in New York. It's one of the only projects that we actually did in New York and in America, as a matter of fact. This was a interactive children's gym that it closed 2 years ago, but it was incredible. It was a 6,000 square foot space in Tribeca that people would come and either leave their children or they would have a full family experience. And it was all 3D interactive, kids playing, you know, games and getting this movement experience. And then our part was in the cool down room. So it was an entire room that was designed to hold the body and be like a cool down area. So to go back, so this was in the Vancouver Olympics, the 2010 Winter Olympics. It was our first public project, really, I believe. My business partner at the time actually was from Vancouver, and her mother was very sick with cancer, and we wanted to find a way to get her to spend more time at home. And I just thought, aren't the Olympics and the Paralympics going to be in Vancouver? So I cold called the Olympic committee, and they invited us to come down, and we went down and we gave a presentation about how the Olympics and the Paralympics could be, you know, we could kind of weave it together through this element of inclusive design. They loved it. So we ended up designing a large part of the Olympic Village in Whistler. What you're seeing here is bike racks. And so these were designed around very specific stretches and movements that a biker would want to do before and after a workout. He's actually an Olympian. Yeah, and if you keep going a little bit further, I think you'll see. So you'll see that a lot of the work is called Infinity. So this was a running theme through a lot of our work. You'll see our logo is the Infinity sign. The glow in the dark design on there was actually done by DuPont. We partnered up with them. And we came up with a glow in the dark material that would then, it was, you know, part of our sustainable design feature. And this idea of infinity is a long-standing concept in healing and healing arts. And it was something that I started to really work with a lot and think about. What you're seeing here is a bus shelter that we did. We did a series of these bus shelters. Each of them also had different seating and stretching designs built into the seating positions. So to go back to the Infinity, which I think you'll see a video in a moment. So the Infinity became really something that I personally was very invested in and committed to. I took on a practice called Bound Lotus. I don't know if anybody has heard of it, but it's basically that you bind your body into an infinity position. You put your legs into a full lotus, you tie your arms behind your back, and you grab on with opposite hand to each foot, and you place your head down on the floor, and it basically creates an infinity out of your body. And it's said that if you practice this for 31 minutes a day, it will create full healing in your body. And I did practice it, and it did open up a lot for me. And I just thought, this is such a hard position. Even I couldn't do it. It took me a year to build up to be able to even hold it for 3 minutes. And I thought there's got to be a way to implement this infinity into the body in a more accessible way for people. And that really began my work that you're going to experience soon of what I call the integral body method. So maybe we just want to show the video really quickly.
Great, yeah. We'll bring that up, and then we're not going to try the lotus infinity position today though, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
I've got my mat here, but I'm not ready to go there.
No. We're Urban Movement Design. We are originally a New York-based company, and we've now come to Rome within the last year, and we're very excited to introduce our work to Italy on such a large scale. Wayne, I think we just wanted to fast forward a little bit to 55 seconds.
Large-scale projects before we were is what the architectural design is, and the infinity system holds the body and engages the body in many different ways. Healthy positions, there's a whole signage program that goes along with it, so really bringing people new information and new knowledge, new experience within their bodies, of a new way of thinking about their bodies, connecting to their breath, connecting to their environments, connecting to the surface or the urban infrastructure that's around them, and really thinking how we think about space, how we use our bodies to engage space, how we use space to engage with one another. The body positions that are included in the pieces are inspired by many different modalities. Those modalities are Pilates, different types of yoga, many different types of yoga, Raj yogas mainly, which are royal yogas, gyrotonics, gyrokinesis, Feldenkrais. There's many that are really endless.
The 3D design comes directly from the body. It comes directly from healthy positions and moving through them from still moments in time to transforming into your next moment. And that 3D design directly from the body becomes 2D drawings that are then cut on the CNC milling machine and installed on site.
Dal punto di vista architettonico ci confrontiamo con un'architettura come quella del Maxi, un museo rinomato, un museo di
I think we can cut it there. This is Italian.
Sappiamo essere un punto fermo.
Up here.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I think we're going to go into the next segment. Is that okay? Okay, great. So I'm going to take everybody through a short movement experience. What I want to say about the integral method is that I've been teaching it privately for the past few years as I've been developing it. It's only now that I'm teaching it in classes. So there's an interesting thing that happens in classes, because suddenly it has to be accessible to people at different levels. So I'm going to attempt to teach it to you. I don't know who my audience is, right? Usually I know who my specific audience is. I don't know who my audience is. So I'm going to be teaching you through the, let's call it the A version, and I'm going to go to the Z version. I'm going to show you the A version and I'm going to show you the Z version. You may be anywhere in between there. So it is up to you to feel where you are and to stay in that position. If you feel while you're in it that you feel like you want to continue to move from B to D to F to G, go ahead and do that. It's all safe. I'm going to show, again, up until the Z version is safe. It's about feeling where you are and enjoying it. It's not, for some people, it's a fantastic workout. It's what I do for exercise and it's a great workout. It could also be just a workout for your mind. We're working on the nervous system. We're working on the cerebral cortex. We're working on the synapses. Just by using your eyes, like I said before, starting with that first guy, Alex in Nicaragua, who could only move his eyes, and then to see him suddenly look down and see his toes moving when all he was doing was focusing on his eye movements. It is possible. And so you just know that you are working on everything just by working on your eyes. Okay. So if all you do is work with your eyes today, you have already accomplished a great task. You can do this for, an hour a day. You can do these eye movements, and it's also being shown to have incredible therapeutic, a lot of different therapies, including talk therapy and psychotherapy is now using rapid eye movement. So this is not something uncommon. I'm going to move over to the mat and I'm going to talk you through a couple of things. Okay, so we are going to start with our first exercise, which is I always start out with some breath work. Breath work is you work on the mind when you work on the breath. Okay, so the breath controls the mind, and when you control the mind, you really control everything. So we're just going to find a nice seated position. This is called easy pose. I always say easy pose is anything but easy, okay? But what it means is that if you were to imagine that your spine is like a pipe, right, where all of the water and heat and everything else can go through, you want to make sure that that pipe is nice and straight, okay? So that's what we're looking for. If you're sitting in a chair, if you're sitting on a stool, if you're sitting on the floor, if you're lying down on your back, however it is, we want the spine to be straight. Now this is structurally straight. It's not a straight line. We are not built as straight lines, right? We're built with curves. That's the natural curvature of the body. We don't want to lose that. We just want to keep the alignment of the spine. You can place your hands down on your knees and just let the weight of your hands drop down into your knees like an added weight to your bones. You're going to gently close your eyes or just bring your focus to the tip of your nose. We're just going to take a long, deep breath in through the nose. So just open up your nasal passage and invite the oxygen to come in and to expand through your lungs, your heart, your chest, into your lower belly. And then just hold the breath for a moment. And then slowly begin to exhale out of the nose. So just gently squeezing from the base of your spine, lifting the diaphragm and pushing the breath out of the nose. Again, we're going to slowly inhale as you expand the body as oxygen comes in, expanding through the throat and the heart and the solar plexus into the lower belly, all the way into the base of the spine. Exhale through your nose as you narrow from the base of your pelvis. Pull the belly in, squeeze through the lungs, and push the breath out. The very last bits, it's almost like you're coughing the last bits of breath out of you. And then one more time, inhale as you slowly allow the breath to come in and open up the space between your ears, in your throat, between your shoulders, around your heart center, down into your ribs, into your lower belly, and into the base of your pelvis. And then as you exhale, slowly narrowing and pressing the air back out, pushing all of it until there's absolutely nothing left. Okay, I'm going to bring you through a quick breathing exercise that works on balancing the hemispheres. So we're going to take the right hand and we're going to take the thumb and the index finger on the right hand. We're going to press the thumb against the right nostril and close the right nostril off. We're going to just stay here for a moment and only breathe on the left nostril. So you're just going to take long, deep breath in on the left nostril. Again, watching the breath as it travels all the way down the length of the spine. And then exhale out of the left nostril as you just watch the breath leaving on the left nostril. And again, inhaling on the left. And exhaling on the left. See your spine get longer as the breath leaves you, pushing out the very last bits. And one more time, inhaling on the left nostril, expanding as the breath comes in. And exhaling on the left side. Very good. Now we're going to release the right nostril, and we're going to bring the index finger of the right hand over to the left nostril and close that off. We're going to inhale on the right side. So same thing, inhaling, watching the breath as it travels and expands along the right side of the spine. And then exhale, see the breath leaving you on the right side as your spine gets longer, the shoulders drop away from the ears, pushing the last bits of breath out on that right nostril. And again, inhaling as you expand on the right side as breath comes in. And then exhale as the breath leaves you. Softening as the breath leaves. Inhale, expanding as the breath comes in. And exhale, softening as the breath leaves. Very good. Okay, so we're going to bring the hands down onto the knees again, and I'm just going to come up to the screen and just show you for a moment. So for those of you that do not remember geometry, I'm going to give you a quick geometry lesson. So if we were in a 3D graph right now, the x-axis is from right to left, right? So I'm just drawing across on the x-axis over from the right to the left. The y-axis is north and south. I'm going up and down, okay? So if we were to draw out now on this graph, my x-axis, my y-axis, I've now found the circumference of my circle. Okay, does that make sense? I'm going all the way to the right, I'm going all the way to the left, all the way up, all the way down, and then I'm going to make a circle drawing around that area, okay? Then what I'm going to do from there, I'm only giving you a visual of this. I'm going to be guiding you through some movements. I'm going to go up on the y-axis. I'm going to go over on the x-axis as wide as I can, back up through the center on the y and over to the left on the x. And that's going to be my figure 8 pattern. Does everybody see that that's my figure 8, right? I'm drawing out a figure 8. And this is how I'm doing it, right? It's just by starting through this. So that's what I'm going to be guiding you through. So I'm going to come back over to the mat, and we're going to start with our eye movements. So I invite you to try this with your eyes closed. It's a very different experience. So the A of this is eyes closed. With your eyes closed, you're going to sit with your spine straight, and you're going to simply move your eyes all the way over to the right on the x-axis, and then all the way over towards the left on the x-axis, all the way to the right and all the way to the left. So just like a pendulum, you're letting your eyes inside the closed socket move from right to left. Then you're going to come back into the center, and you're going to go on your y-axis. You're going to bring your gaze all the way up. And then you're going to bring it all the way down underneath you, all the way up and all the way down, right? So with eyes open, it looks like this. I'm just moving from the right to the left, and then I'm going up and down. Okay, so that's your A, right? Your B or your C or your D would starting to allow the head to move with you. So you can imagine like there's an eye between your two eyes, right? We call it the third eye. And that is also finding the x-axis. On the y-axis, you're looking all the way up and back, and all the way down and back behind you. Still keeping your spine straight, keeping your chest lifted so there's no movement in your rib cage or your shoulders. Good. What you might find in a little bit further along, so let's go to, F, right, is that then you might find that your rib cage is also rotating. So your heart could be another eye that's also finding that x-axis or the y-axis. When you go up, you find that not only your head, but also your rib cage are rotating, okay? Along the Z would be that your pelvis is also moving with it. So as I move over to the x-axis, over to the right, I push against that left knee and I find my pelvis begin to rotate with me. As I go over to the left, I push against the right knee and I feel my pelvis rotating over to the left side of the room. On the y-axis, I'm lifting and I'm falling forward onto the front of my sit bones. And as I go into the down position, I'm falling to the back of my sit bones. So my pelvis is rotating. We're going to take this into our figure eights, whether you're only working with your eyes or whether you're going into your full mobile position of the spine. We're going to go up on the y-axis. We're going to go all the way over to the right and down. We're going to continue the circle all the way to the left and up. One more time in this direction, all the way to the right and down, just following that big circle. And then we're going to go over to the left reverse. So we're going to go to the left and all the way down. Could be just your eyes moving or your entire spine. One more time on that circle to the left. And then we land right in the middle. We're going to take this into our figure eight position. So from here, we're going to inhale and lift all the way up on the y-axis. We're going to go over towards the right and down. We're going to come up through the middle and over to the left and down. Following it up through the middle and over to the right and down. Following it up through the center, over to the left and down. One more time, up through center, over to the right and down, just finding that figure eight through whatever movement you're deciding to follow, and down through center. And now we're going to reverse it. We're going to go down on the y-axis, over to the right and lift up, back down through the center, over towards the left and up, back down through the center, following the figure eight, up and around on the right, down through the center, over towards the left, and then down back into the middle. Okay, good. So we're going to come into our second.
There, I'm going to have to, I think we're going to probably have to stop there. We're at the top of the hour now. I want to give you each maybe just a sentence just to send us off with some positive energy. We probably can't pull off the infinity position today, although some people are asking about it already. Maurit, you said something really interesting at the top of the segment about us all having a better understanding of what it means to be disabled during this period of COVID. Do you think we're going to learn some new empathy and some new insights from that humbling experience?
Actually, yes, I think we will. I think there are a lot of good things that are going to come out of this terrible period. And one of them is the understanding that life can change very quickly. We can all become people. None of us will be children with disabilities in the future, but we can all hope to be very old people with disabilities, because this is how life works. But we all want to be independent. And the fact that we've been through this period and we're able to connect with each other and change our life and still not give up on being who we are, do sports in the house, which we would never have thought would be possible, walking at home, doing exercise at home, communicated with people over the computer, learning new ways to conduct our lives. So many issues of resistance to change have just crumbled when facing the situation, that I think the understanding that we can overcome with technology a lot of the issues that we might face is going to leave its mark. A lot of people who were technology resistant, who were digitally challenged, the older population, the immigrants to the digital world. I mean, my children have absolutely no problem just using the platforms that we are, but the older population, we can see that they can adapt. And let me tell you one more thing. People who are disenfranchised, socioeconomically challenged populations, and people that culturally have not interacted throughout technology with technology, such as ultra-Orthodox population or people whose language is different now connect. And we can see it happening just in front of our eyes. We can show people that even with their culture and their way of life, integrating into the technological world can bring them a lot of benefits. And that will remain with us. I don't think we'll ever go back to being exactly how we were. And the fact that online, anybody can be anybody. We can all be avatars. I mean, we can all play different roles. We can all be different people. That actually changes the way that we look at what is normal. So we're all different and we can all interact with each other. So the way that you use your feet or the way that you connect to each other shouldn't be the things that determine your future.
Great point. Sarah, one sentence on how we might emerge from this period with healthier bodies despite the challenges?
Well, I mean, I truly believe that a healthy mind is a healthy body. So I think doing what you guys are doing here every Sunday, and there are many organizations and people that are doing such things. And I think that the more that we can keep ourselves recognizing, I think if this period has shown us anything, it's shown us how much we need other people. And I really hope that our social dynamics will get a little bit of a facelift in this time. We see from all the studies out there on happiness and well-being that having a strong social network is what makes people live longer and happier and healthier lives. So I really believe that we start there. There are so many online programs. I mean, I offer this, but there are so many amazing teachers out there that are offering things, and people can keep themselves healthy in so many ways. So yeah, I'm hopeful. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. And so many people have already noted in the chat, just despite the different approaches, the positivity. And for me, it was fun to listen to two innovators coming from very different places, find an immediate common language and let alone a common energy. So take a look at integralbody.com, because yes, you too can someday aspire to try the infinity position. And if I could tell you on my bucket list is going on that Alyn bike ride in Israel. So as soon as, Peloton's not going to do it for me, I need to be out there on the roads. And one of the most remarkable experiences I've had friends and colleagues do is that Alyn bike ride in Israel. So we thank you both so much for the wonderful energy and the insights that you brought together today. To all of our friends here, we wish you all a healthy and safe week, and look forward to having you back with a great program that we have on women's leadership in athletics this coming Wednesday during the week, and amazing programs throughout the rest of the year. Everybody, namaste. Have a great, wonderful week.
Thank you. Shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you.